What's poppin', big headed fam? It's your boy Big Gotti, man. You know what I'm saying? We are back with another one, man. Now we got that man, Shordie, man. So basically, he got into a fight with Blood, I believe, at his concert. I don't know what really happened. I think the dude was throwing up signs. I seen a little part of the video, so we gonna watch the whole thing right now, man. But it's unfortunate that you would try to fight your own fans. You know what I mean? And he was singing the song word for word, and I guess his homie came and knocked him out. So we gonna get a bar of this. But what's popping live? I hope everybody having a good day out there, man. And let's get this going. Another angle of it, man. You see his homie come still on the Now I know that they Bloods, and I think he from Hoover or whatever in Baltimore. And I understand, like, you know what I'm saying, how you would have the frustration of him up there throwing up signs. But the fact that they paid to see you, you know what I'm saying, go on stage, man, it's kind of crazy to me because it's like, bruh, obviously he a fan. You know what I mean? If he was really going to press you like that, you know, he would have been up there with his homies. I think he went up there deep. And the fact that they didn't even pack Shordie and them out was kind of crazy. But let's keep going. Hey, Christian! Christian! Look like, nigga. Stop playing I look like, nigga. Yeah, see, he from over the street, nigga. Don't ever bang on me. Don't ever bang on him, yeah. Hell yeah. So this is Dude's Live.
You single and you look good, say hell yeah.
See, so they all throwing up big B's. You know what I mean? But his homie the only one on the ground.
Rapper in his part. And he's gonzo, bad.
Yeah, so that's them right there. But like, you got dude on the ground right there.
Break speed off of this nigga. This nigga got his shit. Oh my god.
And when you look at it, man, you got him on the camera throwing up B's. I mean, it looked like they was kind of trying to disrespect. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we could take it however we want to take it. But I know that a dude paid to get in there. You know what I'm saying? He was in the front. You know what I'm saying? He probably paid even more. And then when I watched another clip of it, to be honest, actually, like I said, dude was singing the whole song. So it kind of threw me. You feel me? Like, if you're going to have fans in the audience, you know what I'm saying, they sing your song word for word, then you need to appreciate that shit. At the same time, though, if that nigga was banging on you, then he had every right to hit him. No, don't let me, you know what I'm saying, look at one side without looking at the other. If he was banging on you and saying fuck your hood or whatever he was doing, that's some whole different shit, man. And he took care of business how it's supposed to be taken care of. Now, I'm not sure, but y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And we're going to move on to this, man. Who we going to go to next? Actually, we're going to go to Suge Knight. Because Suge Knight, I guess he's speaking on Keefy D and the whole Tupac situation and what went down. So we're going to get a bar of that right now, man. Because, you know, Keefy D, man, Mr. Tell on yourself, man. He didn't do himself no good by doing that shit. But let's run it.
The cold case that no one ever expected to be solved is, of course, a huge step closer to being solved. The arrest in the Tupac Shakur murder 27 years later really shocked everyone last week. And we still have questions about why now,
right?
That the police haven't fully explained yet.
Because the man who is now charged with the murder confessed in 2008 that he was involved.
And has been saying it very openly in interviews that he handed the gun to a guy named Orlando Anderson, his nephew. And Keefy's story is that Orlando pulled the trigger and fired the shots into the car. Which
but when he told his story back in the day, I thought that he had got immunity, so I don't understand how they trying to, like, you know, lock him up now. It really don't make no sense. I was thinking about it, and I was like, bro, he told the story years ago, and they said, bro, if you tell us about this for the drug case or whatever, we'll throw the drug case out, which was, like, kind of confusing because now they getting him for this. But let's run it.
Sorry, which Suge Knight was driving, Tupac was the passenger.
Tupac was killed, and Suge was
hit but survived. So everyone was wondering what Suge's reaction is to there finally being an arrest in this case. You would think maybe he would be happy that there's going to be justice.
Well, also, and is he going to testify? So I spoke with him a very short time ago And he is in prison right now. I talked to him when he was on the jailhouse phone and wanted to find out what he felt about the Keefe arrest, and whether he would cooperate in the trial. Tell me what your reaction is to the arrest of Keefe D.
Well, surprise number one, because I didn't think Keefe D would never get arrested. Nor do I want to see him get arrested.
Fact. I don't want to see him get arrested
Let's
either.
get one thing straight, first and foremost. You know, me and Keefe D played on the same Pop Warner football team. And whatever the circumstances, if he had an involvement with anything, if he didn't have any involvement with anything, who want to see? I wouldn't wish somebody going to prison on my worst enemy.
The DA says that Keefe D was in the car with his nephew, and that presumably his nephew, according to the DA, is the one that shot Tupac, and that it was done with the full knowledge of Keefe. Do they have it right?
There was only two people in the car. And Pac not going to tell the story. I ain't going to tell the story, but I tell you this. And I never had nothing bad to say about Orlando because, number one, he wasn't the shooter. Number two, he came to my hearing and told to let me go and told the truth. They still didn't let me go.
If you are called to testify in this case,
I wouldn't be.
why not?
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Why not?
Well, number one, because I'm not going to get on the stand and testify on somebody for what?
They seem to be saying that Orlando was the shooter.
Shout out to Suge, nigga. You hear what he just said, bro? This nigga in prison. He probably could help his case out and all type of shit. He still said he ain't finna help, man. Shout out to Suge, bro.
And Keefe was in on it, that he had full knowledge of what was going down, and it was revenge for Orlando getting beaten up by Tupac and his team at the MGM after the Tyson fight. Is that correct?
No.
Then who shot Tupac?
It wasn't Anderson, so that's all I got to say about that part.
To summarize, you are saying Orlando was not the shooter, although you won't say who the shooter was. You are not saying whether Keefe was involved in any way in the shooting.
Why would he say that?
And you are saying that if you're called to testify by either side, you will not comply, you will not testify. Do I have that right?
1,000%. I wouldn't go, I wouldn't testify, none of that. At the end of the day, free Keefe D.
You know what's really interesting is that
man. That's
he
a real
is
nigga, bro.
pulling back from Keefe D's own statements.
Right.
Which is
But I will
bizarre.
say, so Suge is saying it wasn't Orlando Anderson, which is something that has been widely believed on the streets and alleged in interviews. Keefe D himself has said it, that is the person who pulled the trigger. And Orlando Anderson
But if he
died
said it
a
wasn't
couple of
him-
years after Tupac
if he
did.
said it
in a
wasn't him, it
separate
wasn't
shooting.
him.
I think everybody else in that car, there were 4 people in that car, and everybody's dead except Keefe.
Right.
And so now Keefe has said he was involved. Suge is intimating, at the very least, that he's not involved the way the DA thinks he was
So
involved.
the fact that Suge is saying, he's saying it's not Orlando Anderson.
Right.
I hear that. But he's not going to say who it is,
course
which
not.
to me makes me feel like him saying it's not Orlando Anderson doesn't really carry as much weight either, because the reality is Suge is never going to snitch on anybody.
He's never going to snitch, and he's never going to testify. And that was clear.
Him not testifying, I would think that the DA in Las Vegas is not counting on Suge to be a material witness.
I think they're counting more on Keefe's own words.
Right.
I think that's
what they're going to lean into.
You know the problem with Keefe though, man, like I said before on the other video, man, he would have never went through none of this if he would have just kept his mouth closed. And the fact that Suge Knight keeping it solid for him is, commendable, man. Shouts out to Suge Knight, man. Free that man, matter of fact, because you only got a lot of people that will do that. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of people that will try to get themselves from under the bus, you know what I mean, and make sure that they, in the clear. So, I mean, when I look at that shit, I say, man, shouts out to Suge, you feel me? And free Keefe, like he said, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no snitching, ain't no telling, but I think Keefe did it to himself. But we gonna get into this, man, DJ Envy, man, because DJ Envy been doing Ponzi schemes or some shit like that, I'm hearing, and basically he got this other dude with him, and the dude, they doing like real estate and taking people's money, and they ain't paying for the shit and all kind of shit. So we're gonna actually watch this right now and listen to what dude talking about. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this, man. Shouts out to the Breakfast Club, man. But if DJ Envy doing this, as much money as he making, man, that shit ain't cool, man.
The first video I made covering this story went crazy. Many of you are saying Caesar should be in prison. Some of you want DJ Envy in prison too. After releasing the video, it fully hit me how large this Ponzi scheme is. After a few more victims sent me DMs on Instagram stating they lost a combined $700,000 to Caesar, I realized this is far bigger than I imagined. I even interviewed a real estate attorney based in New Jersey to help assist in understanding what's next in this case. Are Caesar Pena and DJ Envy going to end up in prison? So far, only civil lawsuits have been filed against Caesar Pena and DJ Envy. Why haven't we seen any criminal charges yet?
Well, obviously the government still needs to investigate the case. Before they come forward with charges, they're going to investigate the case in graphic detail. They're going to get as much evidence as they can. They're going to compile it together, and then they're going to move forward guns blazing. They're going to speak to every victim. They're going to speak to attorneys. They're going to gather information. They're going to get all evidence that they have that they can use against them. They're going to have it ready before they move forward with their case.
Unfortunately, it takes time for the federal authorities to gather substantial evidence necessary to win in court, but Caesar's time is coming. Seeing my dreams unfold, nightmares come true, it was time to marry my prison cell, and I said, yeah, I do. Here's DJ Envy daydreaming about being innocent in this Ponzi scheme.
So really, I think the question's going to rely on, did he know that this was a scheme, and did he use his public influence to perpetuate that scheme? That's going to be the question.
In civil lawsuits, everything gets exposed to the public.
Through those lawsuits, there's going to be something called discovery. And discovery is when depositions are conducted, notice to produce documents are sent out, requests for admissions, interrogatories.
Especially
that's when both sides are trying to compile as much information.
When you're in a civil lawsuit, boy, everything get thrown on the table. And it's crazy because whether DJ Envy say he didn't have nothing to do with it or not, he gonna be brought up, and everything that was in the dark is finna come to the light, like, because this is about money, you know what I'm saying? You stealing people's money, you know what I'm saying? The Constitution, man, stands on shit like that, man. You gotta, you know, bring that shit back to the other person if you stole it, you know what I mean? So
it's possible on exactly what happened. And through the discovery process, people learn things.
I have a theory. I think the reason why Envy hasn't publicly blasted Caesar yet is because he needs Caesar to stay quiet about his involvement. Facts. One of the victims just sent me this image. Caesar put all of his Ohio houses in his daughter's name a couple weeks ago on August 9th. Caesar deleted his Instagram last night, and I've been told he's on the run.
I think right now, a case against Caesar is much more obvious than a case against DJ Envy. Looking at it kind of from a legal point of view, vantage point, I think it's going to be a hard case for them to prove that DJ Envy knew about this and was perpetuating it.
DJ Envy claims to have lost a significant...
Really, DJ Envy just brung him on the Breakfast Club. He was talking about like how he made money, how he rocked with him, and he basically vouched for him. That don't mean really DJ Envy was in on the scheme, but everybody know behind the scenes that he was. But it's just going to be hard because he was smart enough to distance himself from that shit.
Amount of money in the Taylor Court apartments deal and had no knowledge of the scheme. But he also had an office next door to Caesar for years. In the first video, I described how numerous investors came to Caesar's office demanding their payment back. Yeah. DJ Envy is trying to convince us that he had no idea numerous investors were storming into the office next to his demanding money. And you were still promoting Caesar when your multi-million-dollar project that was supposed to be underway for 3 years looked like this?
If he had no idea, and there is obviously question to that because he was an investor himself and he is owed money by Caesar. I think it's about $500,000, something like that. So I think that kind of furthers his point that he had no clue that this was going on, that he in fact made money from initial investments, and based off that happening, based off making that money, he kind of pushed this idea that you can invest in real estate, flip homes, make money, and people relied on those representations. But in order for him to have accountability here is if he knew about it and continued to push it, continued to promote him.
Caesar paid Envy early in the scheme so that he would then promote that the investment was legit. It never was, and the signs were pretty obvious. The two victims that just reached out to me both believe that Envy was taking a percentage of the profits. Right. My current position right now is that at some point Envy knew everything wasn't good and still promoted and received a profit, which means he likely has real liability here. Caesar promoted 30% returns in 6 months, which is already a huge red flag. Anyone who knows real estate knows that it actually makes 0 sense sense for Caesar to offer this. If he was as experienced and legitimate as he claims, he could borrow hard money at 10 to 14% a year. Why give the investors 30% every 6 months if you can borrow for half that over the full year?
That's
DJ
a
Envy
fact,
promoted Caesar
dude.
for multiple years to millions of people on his radio show and Instagram. He shared the stage with him at seminars. He had a team handling attendees' information to upsell them into investment opportunities at the seminars. Caesar was then promoting investment opportunities to these attendees at an office next door to Envy. Envy is trying to convince us that he lent out his credibility and reputation to a criminal
For
and
free.
scammer to millions of people and didn't make a dollar off of that. Come
Fuck
on, man.
that.
Caesar wants his phone number hidden from the feds right now since they're probably starting to call him. If you want your personal data, phone number, and personal address
My
hidden
nigga
as
went
well, I have
into
the
an
perfect
ad,
solution
though.
for you. Incogni is on your
I
side
feel
for
you,
helping
dude.
remove your information from data brokers. Just a couple weeks ago, I received a letter in the mail. In the description down below will get
That nigga said if you
60%
want
off
your
of
number
Incogni.
hidden like
It's a great
Caesar.
service and I'd recommend checking it out. Back to the video. The key element in this case is, when did Envy realize this investment opportunity was a Ponzi scheme?
If DJ Envy had no idea that this was going on, and like I said, he appears to be on its face a victim himself, then everything should be fine. But if he did know, and there came a crossroad where maybe at one point he didn't, and he found out that this was a Ponzi scheme, and that he was still perpetuating this narrative that make 25, 30, 35% in 5, 6, 7, 8 months, then there's a problem for him.
During discovery of the civil cases and during the inevitable criminal cases for Caesar, we're going to find out when DJ Envy knew that this investment opportunity was not legitimate and what his behavior was after. So what happens if Envy knew and still promoted the opportunity?
It could very well be the same liability that Caesar has. They can tie them in both together. They can be charged both for the same crime.
For my teachers that said I wouldn't make it here,
And
I
that'd be a
scam a day
terrible
what you
look.
make a year. Might get hit with the RICO. Let's do a quick breakdown of what type of crime Caesar committed. Caesar was acquiring commercial loans on properties and raising money from investors for the same property. Not disclosing that fact to investors is fraud, and taking a loan for renovations and never even renovating the property is mortgage fraud. Receiving money via wire from investors is also a crime. Can you guess which one?
If money was wired into an account that was supposed to be used for an investment, but it wasn't, and the person who sent the money relied on that representation, now you have wire fraud. You know, a lot of people don't know, when you have a wire fraud case, every single wire is a charge. Every single exchange of funds is a charge. That's a
And
separate
when I
charge.
seen the first video, I was like, bro, why the fuck would he try to use the same fucking house and get the money from the investors for the same house? He didn't even try to like use a new house or these different houses. And then when he got the money, he got $700,000 for a fucking $93,000 house. You would think, like, bruh, buy the house for real and fix it up, bruh. You still gonna make a profit because you got so much cash. But he didn't even want to do that. That's some straight greed, bruh.
charge. And every charge carries years in prison.
From what I've seen, I'm convinced that Caesar committed over 100 crimes in this scheme. Here's
Damn.
one I didn't even think of before.
It can be as simple as an IRS issue where he took money that was supposed to be invested for a project in Patterson, but then took that money and used it to buy a car or use it to buy a personal item, and he didn't declare that income on his tax return. If he did that one time, okay, you could make the excuse that I didn't know, I wasn't aware that I had to report that. But if the IRS can prove that this was systematic, that he did it over and over again, and he failed to declare income, that's tax evasion. You can go to prison just for that.
The Pinas were still living in their Franklin Lakes mansion this summer despite their first and second mortgages going into default. I would not be surprised if they falsified tax returns to acquire loans for the sole purpose of taking the money. Add another charge to the crime scoreboard. We know that Caesar was signing joint venture agreements with the investors, which left them unprotected.
These situations, these were all, for the most part, unsecured. It was just a joint venture agreement. So it was person investing money with Caesar, okay, his company. That company would use that money to do X, Y, and Z. And in 5 months, 6 months, here's how much you would make back. I think most people just wanted to know, okay, I'm giving you 200 grand. How much are you giving me back? But it's not that simple. Attorneys are trained to think worst case scenario. But I think when people signed these agreements, they thought best case scenario. My best case scenario is I'm going to give this guy 100 grand. He's going to give me back 135. That's 35%. I don't know of anything providing those type of returns right now. I don't know of a single investment. So when he presented these agreements, I think he presented it to them in a way of, look, I have this property. Here's this house. Give me 100 grand. I've done it before. I did it for this person. I did it for DJ Envy. Look how much he made. And they relied on that representation. And that's where you come to the question of fraud. Was this fraud? I'm not saying it was. was, but that's the question that needs to be answered.
The major mistake that investors made was giving Caesar money without having their money secured by anything. When you flip houses and need money for the purchase and renovation, you acquire a hard money loan. The lenders place a lien on the property, and if you don't pay them back according to the terms of the agreement, they can foreclose on you and recoup their money through the sale of the asset. These investors didn't have a lien on the property, so they didn't actually own anything. It was just a signed piece of paper with Caesar, essentially.
When it's a secure transaction, literally, if you don't get your money back, you can foreclose, you can file an action for specific performance, you can go to the court and say, I lent my money to this investor to rehab this property. He owns the property, but he hasn't rehabbed it. Please force the sale of this property so I can get back my money. Or you can foreclose on the mortgage and have the property go up for a sheriff's sale. When it does sell, you'll get back your money then. But that's not what happened here. This was, here's $100,000. Let me know when my 135 is ready. So obviously there's a lot of people that were damaged by this. So now they have to go run to the courthouse and file a lawsuit in something called the law division.
I don't know what you heard about me, but my investors can't get $1 out of me. No Cadillacs or investment dollars you won't see. In prison, my ass cheeks are going to CLAP. Caesar is...
So I think bro was, you know what I'm saying, very knowledgeable then, meaning that he knew what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? He knew the legal ins and outs of what he was doing. So it's almost like bro can kind of get away with this. Only thing he gonna have to do is pay back certain amounts of money. But if he signed his name on papers and shit like that, I'm sure they're gonna make him pay him back. I don't know how he's gonna get out that part. But let's listen to the rest.
Is facing numerous civil lawsuits and likely will be facing criminal complaints soon. Now let's discuss how the victims can get paid back.
They could win a couple ways. They could win by technicality if they don't answer discovery or something like that. They could win on summary judgment, basically saying, hey court, there's no dispute here. If you take everything that we say as fact and you view it in the light most favorable to the defendant, I still win. And the court could issue a summary judgment. Or it can go to trial and you can get a judgment. And the judge can rule in your favor. But all that is, like what I was telling you earlier, it's a piece of paper that says Caesar owes me this much. That's it.
An unfortunate reality for victims in Ponzi schemes like this one is that collecting becomes the next problem. You can have a signed contract with Caesar and be able to win a lawsuit, but if he doesn't have any money, you don't have any money to collect.
Now you have to go collect on that piece of paper. And that's what a lot of people, they don't realize. They think that the judge is going to go out there and turn Caesar upside down and shake him from his pants and the money. No, that's not going to happen.
Not all hope is lost. Given that Caesar does own some of these properties without a mortgage, there is a way to force a sale.
If they can prove the money they invested was going to be used specifically for a property and that property isn't liened or encumbered, they can file a specific performance suit and force the sale of that property. But again, who owns the property? Are there liens? Are there tax liens? We don't know.
Many of these investors...
And then they just said at the beginning of the video that he put it all in his daughter's name. So he's probably already thinking this is about to come. So if it's not in his name, he don't got to pay nobody. Which is like slick, smart, and fucked up, you feel me, at the same time for the other people. But let's go.
Likely signed up thinking Caesar owned $50 million in real estate. If things go wrong, he could sell a property and pay the victims back, right? Well, maybe not.
He said, you know, I have $50 million in real estate. But what does that mean? Does he have $50 million in real estate and $70 million in mortgages? We don't know. You can have $1 billion in real estate.
That's
but if the properties aren't worth more than what you owe on them or more than what the liens are, he could very well be in the negative. So he could have $50 million in real estate, but a $20 million negative net worth.
Since the last video was released, another lawsuit has been filed against Caesar. Ruddy Rodriguez filed a complaint alleging Caesar took $100,000 for the 523 Park Ave property that probably sounds familiar to a lot of you by now. Additionally, 3 new investors reached out to me privately sharing they've lost a combined $700,000 that I haven't reported on. Correction, I just had another 3 reach out to me totaling an additional $2.4 million in losses. It's entirely possible that Caesar's real estate empire was built on investor money in the Ponzi scheme. This is Jenny Tips, Caesar's wife. One of Jenny's close friends is this woman named Teresa Gudice. On March 4th, 2014, Teresa and her husband Joe entered a guilty plea to 41 counts of fraud following a deal struck with federal prosecutors. The couple was accused of engaging in bank, mail, wire, and bankruptcy fraud, which allegedly saw them net over $5 million over a 10-year period. That sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Their conversations probably go like this. Hey Jenny, has your husband committed more felonies than my husband yet? Haha, girl, my hubby has yours beat by a long shot. Jenny, if you ever need help with navigating prison after committing fraud, I'll be glad to help. Caesar and Jennifer are going to start collecting default judgments with all of the victims lining up. Here's what could happen.
Now, if you do get a judgment, in New Jersey, the process is you could serve something called an information subpoena. And you could say, hey, defendant, I have a judgment against you. You owe me $1 million. I need to know where are your bank accounts, how many cars you have, do you own any jewelry? I need a list of all the real estate that you own, any companies that you have a holding in, all this financial information. Most defendants either ignore it or they don't want to answer it. Or they answer it incorrectly, or they answer it incomplete. If that happens, the plaintiffs could actually file a request for the defendant's arrest. If that warrant is signed by a judge in a civil court, they're not going to go and issue an arrest warrant and go to his house and arrest him. But if he's pulled over and he's flagged to have a warrant under failure to respond to an information subpoena, they could arrest him. And again, these aren't criminal charges, but force him to answer that subpoena.
Caesar appears to be avoiding the civil lawsuits. I asked Peter.
But my question is, can they do any of that if he already get everything out of his name? You know what I'm saying? Like if everything's gone out of his name safely into some other people's name, or he says he sold it, will any of this even stand up in court? You know what I mean? Does it still stand? Like, even though they have a contract, all that, like they could sue him, they could win. But if I put it in my daughter's name or somebody in my mama's name or my cousin's name or anybody else's name, could they really take it? I don't think they can.
If he could do this
civilly, of course, you could let it all go into default, get all these judgments, and then go file bankruptcy.
Caesar spent years claiming to be a real estate mogul, but now that it's time to pay his debts, he went ghost. We know he owns properties, so hopefully these will be forced sales and money goes to the victims.
I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, but I know from experience through real estate litigation, there is a nuance with bankruptcy where if the debt that you owe was a result of a fraud, meaning you took on that debt knowing that you might file bankruptcy or knowing you couldn't pay off that debt, it could become non-dischargeable in bankruptcy.
All of this is the least of Caesar and Jenny's worries. The feds are surely investigating by now, which means it's almost over for them. This is clearly a fraud scheme, and they'll have no problem building a strong case against them.
I ain't gonna lie,
and when Caesar...
Bruh's first video that he made on him, he really fucking put the nails in the motherfucking coffin for him, because he explained it like so crispy clear, like this bruh took like money from 13 different people for the same property. You feel me? Like he couldn't even spread out the thoughts of the property, so it made no sense, man.
Caesar gets out of prison, the only job available to him will be dog walking.
And now Caesar and I own over 2,000 properties worth probably around $100 million.
If they do, time to sell and pay off the victims. If you didn't own that much, then you committed false advertising fraud. If you raised money from investors based on claims that you owned $100 million in real estate, and you didn't, and then Caesar and Envy took the money and ran, you deserve prison time. Shout out to Tony the Closer for leading the charge on this story and holding DJ Envy and Caesar Pena accountable. We have one final character that hasn't been introduced yet.
When am I getting my rent? What kind of property manager are you? It's not my fault, man.
The kind that has a sharp haircut all the time, I'll tell you that much.
Lucci is Caesar's brother, and he is crazy. How many times has your brother fired you? Every day.
Lucci is my favorite character in this story. Lucci is a member of the team and should be included in depositions as well. Considering he's Caesar's brother, I wouldn't be surprised if he knew about the Ponzi scheme. This definitely does not look like someone involved in a criminal operation. He also looks like Hard Rock Nick's cousin. Lucci is the only property manager I know that gives his tenants cash money. At least he always keeps his relationships professional.
Listen, it's going down December 9th. Come check us out with my big bro Flippin' NJ and DJ MB. This is going to be our second seminar.
I've never seen a property manager hold so much cash and focus so much on his jewelry.
But bruh make it look good, and he probably ain't gonna get caught up, bruh, because his name ain't been mentioned in this whole video. So he probably on some whole other shit. He looked like he's slick. I ain't even finna lie.
If there's anyone I want dealing with my money, it's a guy that definitely looks like this. Given how frequently he and his friends visit cash-heavy businesses, I'm very skeptical of where the rent money is going after being collected. He's also the first contractor in the history of real estate to visit a nail salon. It gets even better. Looking at Caesar, we know this is a family that likes to eat, but sometimes it's not just food being eaten.
You see how sexy I'm getting and slim putos?
Nigga killing these niggas, take everybody money.
Eat a lot of pussy, pussy.
This is the guy Caesar hires for construction projects and to manage his alleged real estate empire. Remember, Envy and Caesar own $100 million worth of real estate, yet 30 or more victims haven't been paid a dollar. Maybe they mean they own their property in the metaverse. Thanks for watching.
What?
Hey, I ain't finna lie, that was a dope ass documentary on them, and to be honest, I feel like Caesar and them, they probably is doing what they saying, but I mean, hopefully they get the shit out their name, because if they don't, they finna be fucked. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's kind of retarded to keep using the same, what you call that shit, the same house over and over to the same people, because they gonna catch on after a while. It's almost like you want to get caught. Shouts out to dude, like I said, for making that video, and hopefully, you know what I mean, everybody just, you know what I'm saying, pay back the money, because I know he got cash. You know what I'm saying? He ain't keeping none of this money in the bank. So I know he got cash on hand. He probably ready to pay it off. He better just hope he don't get no criminal charges, and shit'll go smooth for him, man. But yeah, that shit on that. Y'all be smooth out there, man. And today's live was cool, man. I had fun. I hope y'all have fun. And y'all stay rocking with your boy, man. We gonna keep going live. You know what I'm saying? Keep breaking it down, man. Keep showing y'all the bag. And until next time, man, hey, y'all stay safe out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, man. And keep pushing, man.